an issue we've spoken about many times on the show, the growing push by Muslim activists to flex their political muscle in upcoming elections. We've seen it in Britain. It's now gaining momentum in Australia. We saw today the formal announcement of Western Sydney Dr. Ziad Basyouny as Muslim Vote's candidate in Tony Burke's seat of Watson at the next election. It's also the subject of a Sky News investigation, Clash of Faiths, the fight for Muslim votes, screening tonight at 7:30 p.m. The reporter behind the documentary, the wonderful Jonathan Lee, joins me now. Jono, thank you for your time. A terrific, timely investigation. You sat down with Tony Burke. He's got a 25% Muslim population in his seat. Over half that electorate is foreign-born. What did he have to say about the Muslim vote movement? And how do you think, or how does he think it's going to change how he campaigns at the next election?
Well, Peter, good evening to you and thank you for having me on. Very rarely does it actually feel like you're investigating a story when you're right in the middle of it, which is what we're doing right now. I think we've spoken to 13 or 14 people and the fury out there in the community on all sides is extraordinary. You talk there about Tony Burke and the percentage of Muslims within his community or those who effectively can vote. It is enough to rattle him. He's deeply concerned about what it's going to mean. He made a very good point to us about how his community gets access to the media and how they stay informed. And once you start to get an appreciation for that, you realise why there is such a movement growing. Have a listen to this and it'll start to put it into context.
So for the rest of Australia, whether you're up to date largely depends on what's on the news. I'm on the same WhatsApp groups as a whole lot of my community. We will get photos from on the ground every day. There'll be new videos, there'll be new images. I do not want to begin to think of the numbers of dead children that I've had depicted on my phone since October of last year. Those images hitting people again and again and again every day, it's a very different lived experience to the rest of the country.
Yeah, you put that into context when you start to understand what is happening in Gaza and the Middle East. The rough percentage of Muslims in Australia's population is 3%, around 1 million people. But you look at, as you say, Tony Burke's seat, 25% of his electorate is Islamic or Muslim. Jason Clare's is around 30% in the seat of Blaxland. There is certainly a movement going on in Western Sydney and Melbourne. There's two specific movements here which are starting up trying to mobilise Muslim voters. They feel aggrieved about what is happening and also they feel left out of the political debate. And we certainly know what happens when there is a vacuum. People fill it in terms of representation. I was very fortunate to also speak with Senator Fatima Payman, who has now left the Labor Party and become an independent. We flew to Perth to speak with her exclusively over the weekend. And I asked her about her showdown with Anthony Albanese. Peter, I'll be very interested to hear what you have to say after hearing this. What's it like going toe-to-toe with the Prime Minister?
It was intense, going toe-to-toe with the Prime Minister. And for a first-term senator, and especially in their second year, I don't think many senators out there even envisage something like this taking place. But my dad used to always remind me and say, you know, live a life with a clear conscience and you have no one to fear.
Yeah, she's a person who's certainly full of conviction. If she's made the right decision, she certainly believes that she has, Peter.
Look, she's very articulate. I think she's media schooled. I think that the appointment of a Chief of Staff in Glenn Drury says to me she's politically serious. She'll expand her reach, or she'll certainly try and to stay in her seat. But I listened to her there and her entree into politics, and I understand she's a refugee from Afghanistan. But I think about the circumstances of women there compared to women here in Australia, and that says Australia is a good country. And I feel sometimes at the moment we're talking our country down. We're trying to make it what it's not, and it's not the Middle East. Jono, I can't wait to see your show tonight. I'll watch it at 7:30 here on Sky News. Well done to you. Thanks for your time tonight. There you go, Clash of Faiths, as I said, 7:30 tonight here on Sky. Also streaming skynews.com.au.